our special guests recorded so that we can go back and watch them over. But after that, we will not be recording our meetings. Or if we have any time where there's discussion, we will also stop the recording. So please ensure your microphone is on mute. We encourage respectful engagement using the chat feature at any time. So please engage in the chat. Community agreement, stay engaged, speak your truth, no fixing, experience discomfort. Some of the things we're going to talk about are probably going to be uncomfortable. And I'll give you a heads up in a little bit. Take risks, listen for understanding. That's really important. Listen and lean in, especially if something makes you uncomfortable. Seek to understand. Expect and accept non-closure. The views expressed by presenters, this is especially the case now that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and we're going to be inviting all these special guests who we love, but their content for video content, presenters, artists, their expressions and their views are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Latino Leadership Network. And let me also say that I may say some things today that you may not necessarily agree with, and those are my own views and not necessarily those of LLN. Please make sure that you sign the attendance sheet. If somebody could put the link in the chat. I'll see if it lets me, but I'm not sure if it will. So if somebody has the link and could put that in the chat, I'll see if it lets me do it. Okay, I just put it in there. So before we get started, I had to address this and not pretend that nothing happened yesterday. And this is where I just, you know, if you disagree with me, if I say something, these are my views and not necessarily those of LLN. I wanted to bring this up because the Supreme Court made a decision yesterday that impacts our community. Immigration enforcement can now use the following factors to select who to detain. Based on race, ethnicity, in other words, Latine, Latine, Latino, Latina, skin color, brown, language, Spanish, location, car wash, Home Depot, low-wage occupations, farm workers. The dissent decision, I think Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote like a 7-page dissent. I have not read it, but I do want to. But her quote is, "We should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job."
I would also like to say on this, like specifically regarding the race ethnicity point, that is a phenotype element. And so, like, again, as a diaspora, as a big, broad umbrella tent, we at LLN advocate and declare if you are Latine, you are Latine. If you don't look it, that doesn't matter. That is a stereotype. That is racism. That is a presumption. And, you know, my Tio has shock red hair. Like, you know, we come in all colors, all shapes, all sizes, and you are welcome. And we are fighting for you.
Can someone do me a favor and reach out to Latasha? I can't bring up my Teams right now, but it looks like she's been messaging me about somebody not being able to get in or having the wrong link. So if somebody could reach out to Latasha and see who that is, or send them the correct Zoom link, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. So this will be in the back of our mind as we continue with the rest of the presentation today. Even though this isn't a specific topic, it certainly impacts the way that we are navigating today. And why we honor our community and we center our community. And why we do a check-in. So just checking in. How are you today? Which image best represents how you are feeling today? in your body, in your mind, and in your heart. If you're comfortable, go ahead and share in the chat. How are you doing? Which image best represents how you are feeling today? They're all beautiful images. It's funny how as soon as I'm in this space, I feel better. Image 2, the cocoon. Fresh from the cocoon. I like that image. It seems like the butterfly just came out of the cocoon, still hanging onto the branch, hasn't quite flown away yet. You know, you sit in your comfort zone for a little bit before you're ready to fly off. So a lot of us are feeling in our cocoons today. Hopefully we can get to the place where we come out of our cocoon, even if it's just to sit on the branch, if we're not ready to fly away. I've been feeling like that, really heavy all day today, and don't want to stay there, and also don't want to ignore my feelings. I think the first part of healing is to acknowledge our feelings and acknowledge what is happening in our body, in our mind, in our heart, and in our spirit. It's okay. Starts with acknowledging it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, everyone who shared. Our agenda today: current events, which I just talked about. I'll talk about them a little bit more in a second. Our check-in, we're going to talk about our Hispanic Heritage Month theme, our Hispanic Heritage Month events. We have so many events we're excited for. Our Hispanic Heritage Month special guests. And today our special guests are Trio Guadalevin, El Noroeste Video Project, Abel Rocha, Antonio Gomez, Gus Denard. And so if I'm going fast, it's just because I want to make sure that I give them plenty of time to share. In the chat, share a food that connects you to your culture and a memory connected to that food. In the chat, share a food that connects you to your culture and a memory connected to that food. It connects because it's usually connected to a person as well. So what's that food that brings you back, that connects you to your culture, to how you were raised, to where you came from? And share that in the chat. We have pozole, making it with my grandmother, and now I make it with my kids. New York deli style lox and bagels, yum. Does that have a memory attached to it? Things with wheat lachoche, had it for the first time in Tepoztlan. Tamales, carne adobada, mangú, tamales, and the assembly lines, yes! Those Christmas assembly lines. Arroz con pollo, frijoles, tamales, por supuesto, cada Navidad. Sopitos, estilos colimenses, pambazos, tamales, making millions of tamales. You're not mentioning the memory connected to the food, but it kind of implies it when you say assembly line or making them by the millions. Chile con carne, carnitas with my dad, tajaditas de plátano. I think we need a cookbook. My grandma used to make these, and my grandpa. Tortas de mole, torta ahogada, enchiladas. My grandma's known for her mole. And yum, in Guadalajara, where I was born. Yes, caldo de pollo, making some tonight. Oh my gosh, caldo de queso. My husband brought me 120 ears of corn, and I made pan de elote for the first time. Didn't know that it used a whole can of condensed milk. It was so sweet. I was expecting like cornbread. It was really sweet, but it was really good. Keep sharing bacalao. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. It's making me hungry, but also just lifting my spirit because it's connected to family and memories and our culture. Thank you so much. Keep reading the chat. Keep sharing. This is who we are. We are a business resource group that strives to provide Latinos and their allies in state government a place where they can feel a sense of community. I hope you're feeling that already today. Learn new things that help them in their profession and meet other Latin state workers, connecting and inspiring Washington's Latino workforce and leaders of today and tomorrow. And our mission is through the power of connection, invest, inspire, and serve. I love to read our definition of Latine. That's why I read it at every meeting, and especially today. Latine individuals represent communities that span from the North, Central, South American continents and Caribbean islands that were colonized by the Spanish Empire. Our heritage not only reflects the Spanish colonizers, but equally reflects the indigenous heritage and traditions of the people who existed prior to colonization and continue to exist. This heritage is inextricably connected with the Black community through our survival and flourishing despite these systems, and our identities are varied and based on family histories, as we've seen with our food, traditions, and shared experiences. As our self-understanding and discovery grow, we expect that our definitions and appreciation of identities will also grow and progress. Thank you so much for sharing. Our theme for this year's is Hasta la Raíz, honoring our ancestors by remembering our roots, being creating our own narratives about who we are, honoring our ancestors by remembering our foods, remembering the memories, sharing those memories with others, and sharing what's important and sharing our history as well. Don't let other people tell our story. Mes de la Herencia Hispana is from September 15th through the October 15th. And if you didn't know, it's because of all of the Independence Days that happened during that period. Last year, I had the privilege of being in Costa Rica on September 15th and got to watch their Independence Day parade in Jaco. And to debut, the new LLN video is premiering today. Lorraine Peterson, our communications director, has been working so hard on this video. And so I'm going to have to stop sharing and then share again with audio so that I can show you the video. So let me bring it up. Okay, which one of these is it? Here it is. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now I lost my Zoom screen. Here we go. I'm going to share. Stop sharing. Oh my goodness. And share again with audio. Bienvenidos to Latino Leadership Network, or LLN. We are a business resource group for people working in Washington state government. We are Latines and allies working to build, connect, and inspire our peers and people seeking to join public service.
One of my favorite things is when we have the in-person Hispanic Heritage Month celebration at one of our state parks. And last year I was able to take my kids and they were exposed to our Latina community, different foods, different music, and I really love that they were able to participate in that. And it helps them with their identity, right, as Mexican United Statians.
One big motivation was to find my culture because I've always believed that la cultura cura. So once I learned that BRG was available to me, you knew I was going to be there with my people. The events that we produce throughout the state have allowed me to show my children that we are represented and we are seen in the state and we will not be hidden.
And every time I enter the space of LLN, I am reminded about the validity of my experiences as a Chicana, and the people in LLN remind me of the courageous truth that is needed to truly promote community and the responsibilities it takes to have these courageous conversations within state work.
I joined LLN to find a space where shared experiences create a sense of belonging, growth, and meaningful connection. For me, LLN is more than a network. It's a place where our voices matter, where I feel seen, and where we work together to drive change in state government. As a state employee, I feel the need to represent diversity and the value Latinos provide. And LLN is a space where I feel like I can make a difference.
Their experience is also the first time working with agency directors. So Afi Abrado Ramos and David Puente, the opportunity to work with them has been tremendous, both in terms of like inspiration, but also in having somebody that has been able to provide me with advice and the team with advice. That's why I would encourage folks to think about joining LLN, is because you can come in, you can personally grow and develop yourself, and you can make contributions to our communities, whether that is other state employees or the communities that we serve in Washington State.
Hard in putting that together, scheduling video recordings, doing all the things to get this done. Thank you, Lorraine, so much. Okay, let me, oops. You hear me say it every meeting that this is a space where we unapologetically speak English, Spanish, Spanglish, and also open to indigenous languages. I wish I knew mine. And because of that, not everything is going to be translated. You're going to hear different languages here and there just flowing. You know, the majority is still going to be in English. You're going to understand the majority of it, but you may not understand all of it. And that's okay, because we're centering all of our languages. We're not centering just English. And I know I say that every month, but I wanted to just quickly just give some reasons why. Translation for all centers English speakers, suggesting the other language is secondary. We value cultural context by leaving some words, phrases, and idioms and lyrics in their original form. The space preserves and celebrates the distinct cultural identity associated with the language. For some reason, I was thinking of the term sana colita de rana. Doesn't literally translate. If I had literally translated that to you, you wouldn't know what that meant. But yet I hear laughing because some of you know exactly what that means in the context. And it would take me forever to explain it. But the laughter that I got instantly by the people that it connected with is the point, and why we don't translate everything, because we're centering the people that understand that idiom, that phrase. And it moves beyond this English first thinking that we keep hearing, especially in this climate right now. Selective translation challenges this bias and instead fosters a more balanced and respectful interaction between languages. It supports our linguistic growth, challenging us to learn languages, and validation of our mother tongue, an opportunity to engage with our mother tongue. And it reflects the organic way that bilingual people communicate from English to Spanglish without needing an interpreter for any of it. That's just how we navigate our spaces. So just wanted to give some why, especially because today we're also going to be introduced at the very end. You're going to hear some songs in Spanish. You're going to hear a song in Zapotec at the very end if you stay till the end. And I just love and appreciate all of the languages, because so many of our languages have been erased. We don't even know what our indigenous languages are. So I know I'm going to run out of time, so I just got to get through these quick. Wanted to honor our indigenous history. There's a link here that we can show later and put it on our website as needed. Just like we look up the indigenous land that we sit on, I sit on the land of the Yakama Nation. We can, if you know where your family is from, you can go in here and find the indigenous history or ancestors for your family by going and looking it up. There are still indigenous peoples in Central and South America. And here, I went to a sovereign meeting. There was someone who was 100% Mayan. We are indigenous and we are Afro-Latine as well, which has been, we don't have time to go into the caste system, but we have that history of erasing or making invisible indigenous and Black communities, and we embrace and honor. We are not a monolith. We are all different, and we have this huge history, each of those being trainings and workshops all on their own. Wanted to honor our history today of our Afro-Latinidad community, of our indigenous community, and just of our culture and our multiple languages as well. Estefania Martinez Lima, every month, is so loyal because she reads hundreds and hundreds of books to give us a small amount of books that are focused on our Heritage Month. And so here are a few. You can also find the link on our website with all of these books, because we have been gathering or creating this book list since January. So we have 8 months worth of books for you to read. So just some more books that center our community. I'm currently reading An Indigenous People History of the United States, which is so good. I wish I could do a workshop on just that. So these are our events. Going to go through them quickly, but we do have a guest from one of those events that we'll be sharing as well. So, Jose and Miguel, are you here to share about Lula Fest?
Yes, hello. Hopefully you can hear me. I have the honor to have Miguel Pineda here, who is the event organizer who reached out and has been doing this event with the city of Olympia. So I'll give him some time here. Miguel, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, I was gonna show a little video. Is it possible to share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing.
Okay.
How long is it?
Oh, it's just a few. It's like 30 seconds.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. See if it lets you.
Okay, let's see here. So as I said, we started this about in 2023, and here's a video from the first year. Here we go. I don't know if we'll be able to hear any of the audio. All right. Everyone still there? Awesome. So that was just like a little taste of what the first year was like. Really the inspiration is it was basically I started with a bet with me and my dad, and in fact, if that's the Peter Serrano that I know, Peter Serrano's dad and my dad used to put on events for the Round Table with Evergreen State College, and I think Peter's dad was also a DJ, just like my dad. But our families have been organizing events here in Thurston County for a long time. So I come from a long line of folks that have been putting on events and shindigs out here to reinforce culture. Lula Fest is short for Libe Lula, which is a dragonfly. And if you didn't know, the dragonfly is actually our state insect. It's our state bug. And I was actually in the House Gallery when that was made law. And so I've always thought it was perfect for the event because, you know, como nuestra gente, you know, we're very agile, we're very quick on our feet, you know, we're very just we know how to handle all of life's things, and so I thought it was very representative of how we move in our culture and our community, and really that the offers on the table for anybody to join us, you know, and celebrate. And we do that by, you know, having a car show. We have a lot of support for a lot of local car clubs that will be coming out, and we'll be giving away awards for best in show people's choice and those types of things. It's kind of a tradition. The lowriders that we get are pretty amazing, and everybody's taking pictures of them the whole entire festival. We also have a beer garden with Northwest Beer Works, And then this year we'll have 2 stages, which is actually kind of a big step for us. We'll actually be having the main stage in the Capitol Theater. So we'll have Mariachi Ayutla, we'll have La Nueva Novedad, we'll have Los Cumbieros, DJ Calambre, DJ Trademark, Albina Cabrera. This is actually an older poster. It doesn't have all the folks on it, but definitely follow Instagram. That's where you can find everything going on there. But this is a free community event, and we hope that not only folks coming out to check out music, but families. We have the support of the South Sound YMCA, another board that I sit on, as well as the Thurston County Chamber. And this is all, kind of one of the reasons why we didn't really stress putting in like food trucks and all that stuff, is because we have a lot of great businesses in downtown Olympia, and we have the largest footprint for any Lula Fest that we've done to date. We basically have 4 square blocks, and there are enough restaurants on those blocks to help feed our folks. I would be happy to send you an updated a poster, but check out the one on the Instagram, and follow us on Facebook. I hope that everybody can join, and if you got any questions, I mean, feel free to lay it on me. We're excited. We've got some great entertainment this year, and just some great partners, including Jose and all of LLN. So we're very thankful to be able to make this event happen.
Thank you. Honored, Miguel. Thank you for giving us your time today. If we possibly could just go back to call to action. And I just wanted to share a personal thank you to Miguel, who's been patient coordinating this. And as you may know, we had this event at the same time as our park event. So we were taking communities, spreading them apart. So we're like, why organize together? So that's kind of how this got together. But the call to action, and then there's plenty more events to talk here about. But really, if you plan to go, if you'd like to be more than a guest and want to participate and be a volunteer, the event's from 1 to 8, but I'll be there early. I'm one of the contacts there. Also, you can email the general LLN email that you're interested. We'll be definitely, once you get there, you can tell me your interest of things, and then I'll get back to you with details. With that, look forward to seeing everybody who can make it September 27th in Olympia, which I'm at here across the street from City Hall today.
And I just went to our website. We do have this outdated or not complete flyer available, so we'll update that as well for you.
Yeah, I'll drop that in the chat.
Oh, I just updated it today, so. Thank you. Thank you so much, Miguel and Jose, and for all of your hard work. And tonight, City of Olympia Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation. So Jose will be sharing, and everyone from the Lula Fest planning team will be there. So if you live close to Olympia, be there at City Hall and support Lula Fest and Hispanic Heritage Month. 6 o'clock at City Hall. Thank you. Thank you both. So.
I have to hop off the call, my friends.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the time, and thank you for your generosity and support. I mean, again, I can't stress the work that you have all done to make it possible for us to have a celebration like this. And big shout out to Jose and his efforts for helping our team make this year. This is going to be our best year. This is going to be our best year.
It's a great partnership.
Thank you all. I'll talk to you soon. I left my contact information in the chat if anybody needs to get a hold of me.
Gracias.
Nos vemos. Adios.
Adios. And so these are the rest of our virtual events. We have a lot of them. Kicking it off with today with our September general meeting, and we have our special guests waiting. And then we have our virtual events, which are Lunch and Learn. So we have 5 Lunch and Learn scheduled. The first one starting next week, where I will be doing one on El Poder de Nuestra Historia. September 25th, Nancy Aguilar from CHA with Como Andamos. Commission on Hispanic Affairs. October 2nd, Abel Rocha and his Songs of the People. This was the other reason why I wanted to share about the importance of multilingual spaces. That this is the first time we are having a lunch and learn completely in Spanish. So please come support and attend our lunch and learn on October 2nd with Abel Rocha. October 9th, Estefania Martinez Lima, where we'll be sharing on decolonizing our identity. And then will be our October general meeting. We'll continue the Hispanic Heritage Month focus with the Dolores Huerta Foundation. And then after that, we're going to continue celebrating on October 23rd, where Juan Garza, Susana, and Adelaida are going to join him on a Dia de los Muertos panel for a discussion around connecting to our roots through tradition, and maybe even traditions that we weren't raised with, and reigniting getting to know our culture. So just quickly, I won't read them. So there's mine, September 18th. Here's our beautiful guest, Nancy from Cha. And all of this is actually in a separate flyer, also on the website. So if you click longer flyer, you will get every single one of these slides with more information and detail about each of our events. Stefania, so beautiful. And then the Dolores Huerta and our Dia de los Muertos panel. They're so excited to share. And all of these are interactive. They're workshops. So come and enjoy. Now, finally, to our guests, I will pass it on to Makaela to introduce our special guest today. And I'm going to stop sharing so that I can share again, so I'll be able to share the videos.
Thank you, Herminia. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining for this special chance that we get to talk about a project called El Noroeste, and welcome in our guests from Trio Guadalevin. So I am going to see if Tony and Gus can turn their cameras on, and I'm not sure if I saw Abel, but I think he was planning to join. Let me see. On the screen, hi Tony, I see Tony, I see Gus. So today we're going to talk a little bit about this project that we've been working on for several years now. And before we get started, I'll just introduce myself and then I'll introduce Trio. So my name is Makaela Kroin, and I am currently serving as treasurer for Latino Leadership Network. I work for Washington State Parks, where I run our folk and traditional arts program, a program that centers cultural heritage, all of the diverse, incredible traditions that make Washington what it is. And I think we can move to the next slide, please, Edminia. Thank you so much. Or Sedona, sorry. So, El Noroeste, I would love it if Tony, Gus, can you all introduce yourselves, please?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes, and thank you so much for inviting us to speak with you this afternoon and share a little bit about this project. My name is Tony Gomez, or Antonio, or if I'm in trouble, Antonio Martin Gomez, and based in Tacoma. In addition to my work with Trio Guadalevin, my day job is with Tacoma Arts Live, where I'm the engagement officer for that organization, and I'll pass it over to Gus to introduce himself as well.
Hola, buenas tardes. I'm Gus Denhard, and I play in the trio with Tony and Abel, and I'm mostly a plucked instrument player, so plucked string instruments in the guitar family. And my main focus before Trio Guadalevin was early music, which is the study of traditional and classical music traditions from around the world. And I'm the artistic director of Early Music Seattle, a 49-year-old nonprofit concert presenter in the Pacific Northwest.
And is Abel with us?
He's not. I just got a text from him. I'm resending him the link, but in the meantime, I'll just share that that Abel is really a treasure that we have here in the Northwest, and I'm excited that this group has a meeting with him coming up. Abel is a great kind of walking repository of folkloric traditions across Latin America and Mexico in particular. He's originally from Mexico City and has been playing traditional music for decades, and works in addition to thru Guadalevin with Correo Ario, does bilingual poetry with elementary students through Jack Straw Studio, and also works with Sin Fronteras, the Nueva Canción group based in Western Washington.
Thank you, Tony. And we can go to the next slide, please, and thank you. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my connection to this project, and then we'll go back over to Gus and Tony. So this project, which has spanned the last 3 or 4 years in coming to fruition, is a combination of music and visuals and history and storytelling that is place-based in Washington and the broader Pacific Northwest. And I've had the absolute honor to have already worked with Video Guadalevin through my work with parks. They have done concerts at pretty much all of our parks where we have concert series, and even some where we don't. Through that relationship, Tony and Gus and Abel shared with me the idea for this project. And as a result, we applied for grant funding. Took many years to get all of the pieces together, and this is very exciting that we get to share it. So I just going to pass it over to Tony to talk a little bit about what is this project, what inspired it, what was the impetus for it?
Yeah, we're so excited to share it with you. And I see a question in the chat of what does Guadalevin mean? And that's probably a good introduction to what this group is about. So Guadalevin is a river gorge. It's like like, I guess, a river valley or canyon, actually is the best term. So it cuts through the city of Ronda in southern Spain. And the interesting thing about the Guadalevin Canyon is that if you cross the top of the canyon, the new bridge, so to speak, which was built in the 1700s, was built by Christians. And you go further down in the canyon, there's a bridge from around 1000 Common Era that was built by Muslims, and then further down a bridge that was built by Romans. And for us, this felt like a really wonderful metaphor to talk about all the layers of culture that we carry around with us. And the word Guadalevin is almost like deep river valley. So Guada, that root that we hear in Guadalajara, Guadalupe, and so forth, that comes from the Arab word wadi, which means river valley. So, our conversation about language, we walk around with lots of languages all the time. In Spanish, there's Nahuatl and there's Arabic and so many different influences. So, but I have to be careful. I'm a former social studies teacher, so I should have told you all that. And that has a lot to do with the shaping of this project. It actually goes back to when my kids, who are now 21 and 24, when they were in elementary school, and I would flip through their 4th grade social studies book and see that our community was completely absent in the relation of how the history of Washington was related to 4th graders across the state. And that stuck with me and bothered me. And as someone who taught social studies, someone who had written the curriculum or would write the curriculum for the PBS series Latino Americans, I had trouble with that. So we returned to it as a musician many years later with the idea of how can we as musicians address this issue. And so the project was born out of this idea of what if we use music as a tool to relate these stories that are so often omitted or neglected or misrepresented. And so that's how the project came into being.
And so we have 3 songs and 3 videos to share today, and we want to share that as well as discuss each of those. And so, Tony, would you prefer to give, what kind of introduction would you like to share for our first song before we dive in? Is there anything that you would want folks to know before they see this video?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just share that, oftentimes when we think of the history of Washington State, we carry around the idea of George Vancouver and Peter Puget and perhaps the pioneers that would cross over from, a much smaller United States back in those days. Um, and then, of course, we also think about the indigenous nations that have been here since time immemorial, and whether we're talking about the Yakima or the some of the nations of the Salish Seas. And one part of the puzzle that is oftentimes missing is that the first permanent non-indigenous settlement in what would become Washington was established by an expedition that left what is now Western Mexico. So it left a port called Barra de Navidad on the western coast, which is, if you can imagine, kind of where Acapulco is. It's kind of in that area. And in the late 1700s, when this region that would become Washington State, that would become the Northwest, was referred to as New Albion, and it was of intense interest to Russians and British and Americans and Spanish. You remember, Mexico did not exist yet. So there was this intense interest in this competition among those world powers as to having influence in this area. And so there's, we have this dubious honor of being the first outsiders to permanently disrupt the peoples of this region. And so in the early 1790s, the expedition sailed from Barra de Navidad. It arrived at Nia Bay in the lands and waters of the Makah Nation, the unceded territories of the Makah. And we wanted to imagine this moment when this ship that was led by Spanish officers and crewed by mestizos and Nayari Indians arrived at Nia Bay and was greeted by the Makah, who paddled out in their canoes to meet the sailing ship, and then what happened in the following months. Yeah, that's what I'll share. And so it's not necessarily to honor that moment in that chapter of history, so as to acknowledge that it happened and that there was a significant exchange of culture and commerce that happened. There's actually a potato that was grown and eaten on the peninsula that's different from every other potato in the U.S. because, unlike every other potato, it didn't pass from South America to Europe and then to the United States. It passed from Peru to Mexico to Washington directly. And so we wanted to just put a spotlight on some of that history that's unknown.
And before we share that video, I'll just add, in a more broader way, a lot of people are familiar with place names in Washington that summon Spanish words, Port Angeles, Puerto Angeles, the San Juan Islands. There are many examples of these place names that relate to this history that Tony is referring to. So with that, we'll share the first music video with y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we could toggle back to the PowerPoint, please. And there's just so much that we could dig into and dive into. There's so many stories related to the production behind the scenes of making these videos. One more slide forward, I believe. Perfect.
And
Thank you.
one thing about Makaela that I don't know if folks know, she is an amazing videographer, and we had a wonderful team with us, Mark David and Willem Marco Benza from Scribe Studios. Willie even capsized in a kayak while filming and managed to keep the camera above the water.
It was a very memorable moment of watching his hand stay above water with his camera while everything else was underwater. Not long after what you see in that photo on the right there. So digging into the music of this tune, I have a question for you, Gus. Can you tell us more about the melody?
Yes. The melody is actually written by a Spanish guitar composer and guitarist, Gaspar Sanz. In the 1690s, he lived and worked in Madrid. And jump in here if you need to change anything, Tony. But this idea of canarios, what Sanz was trying to do was imitate what he saw or heard on the Canary Islands in terms of the indigenous people, how they were moving. We don't really know, but we know that this is one of many examples of inspiration that Europe receives from the process of colonization. And with so many horrible things, that came out of that period, there was the kind of cultural exchange also that generated beauty, at least from a distance. And we were able to take that melody and adorn it with all of the trappings of what our group is capable of. All those bird sounds came straight from Tony and his many bird call collection of things that he does. So anyway, yeah, that's the history of the song itself.
Thanks, Gus. I'm glad you included the how Spanish exploration of the Canary Islands also resulted in a colonization process that further spread that musical form. Tony, question about the importance of location in this song, even though it's important in all of the songs and the videos that we're going to share today. How does the location tell the story that of this history, this moment?
I mean, yeah, the location was really important. We wanted to stay on the strait because I mean, in essence, this is Washington history. So it's history connected to our community and obviously, to the Macaw at the very tip of the Olympic Peninsula. But it's also history for all Washingtonians, and it is, indelibly tied to this place, right? And that the particular place for this song is along the strait. And so that's why, we were out, at Salt Creek and Cape Flattery and Nia Bay. And Makaela, what's the name of the park right at Port Townsend?
Fort Worden State Park.
Yeah, Fort Worden. So, yeah, we literally, did the entire expanse of the strait. But it's, all these stories, it's, you think of like almost like you see the water going back and forth, and that's like a story of all these different cultures touching Washington. So we wanted to explore that. And I also put in there that concept that Gus was talking about, ida y vuelta, is the idea of, how musical ideas and cultural ideas go back and forth between the old world, so to speak, and the Americas.
We go forward one more slide, we're going to see the historic drawing of maybe an imagined moment or an actual moment. Tony, do you want to talk a little bit about this historic drawing?
Yeah, so this was sketched by Jose Cardero, who was on the expedition. And, you know, obviously there was, when you wanted to record visual moments in those days, you would take an artist with you. And so he also, in the video, you saw sketches of Chief Tetaku and one of his wives. And so that was the job of the, you know, usually an archivist or naturalist, you know, to document all these moments. And these we were able to access from the archives in Spain through cooperation with the, the honorary consul of Spain here in Washington, Luis Fernando Esteban, who also partnered with the Makaela Nation and the state via the Lieutenant Governor's office to create the marker that now exists at Nia Bay, approximately where this settlement was. And that marker is also, it's combined, it's a historical marker and it's also a marker honoring the veterans of Makaela descent. If you haven't been out to Nia Bay, I encourage you to make the trip someday. It's beautiful and amazing and humbling to experience it.
Knowing that we have two more songs, I know there's so much more we could dig into with song one. Are there any closing thoughts, anything you want to share about the name of the song or anything else about the production?
Oh yeah, so Dia and Dia, so Dia, D-I-A is day, and then D-I-A-H, that is the old spelling for Nia. So Dia, that referred to Nia as in Nia Bay. So day in Nia Bay.
I thought of one more theme that is, well, there's so many more things that we could dig into with the song, but the actual structure of the song, can you talk a little bit about how what we hear at the beginning of the song and the end of the song helps tell the journey itself musically and the sounds that we're hearing?
Yeah, so you hear at the beginning of the song, you hear those ocean waves. So that's all done with an ocean drum, and the seagull sounds. Those are bird calls, as Gus mentioned, and so the song is designed to be that trip that you see on the map, going from Barra de Navidad up to Nia Bay. So you hear the ocean first, and then you hear the ocean voyage, and then you hear forest sounds when you arrive to the Olympic Peninsula, and then of course it ends with those sounds as well.
So there's a lot of intention behind everything that we're hearing and what we're seeing as well, it seems like.
We're trying.
Okay, if we can advance to the next slide, I think we will move to song number 2. And we've got a couple of slides to look at before we switch over to that video. These images that you see here show a production day at a orchard near Yakima, so Wapato, near the Yakima Valley. And also shows the other production team that was a part of this project, Latino Northwest Communications, Mario Valeta and Marta Sanchez. And Tony, why were they such a natural fit for this project?
Mario and Martha have been doing video for, well, they did like piecemeal video for Univision National from the Northwest for many, many years, both in Washington and in Alaska. And they have kind of this unsung archive that is, I think, I think is the largest video archive of the Latino community in Washington state. And not only do they have that archive, but they have the connections. Like if you need to, document like Salal workers who, are indigenous speaking Mexicans and Central Americans, they're the ones that are able to find those folks. If you want to know about what the Purepecha community is doing from Michoacan, then they are also the folks that have those connections. So they are really crucial, and particularly with this song, they have strong connections to farm workers and to orchards, and have as well, long documented interviews from community leaders from the farm worker community, radio clinics, and so forth across central Washington.
And so Santu, La Pizca del Oeste, or The Harvest of the West, what should we know? We're going to go into more detail after the song, but what should we know going into this one?
That migrant workers are essential to the agricultural and economic health of Washington State in particular, and the West overall. We simply do not function, our food chain and the economic prosperity of the state simply do not work without these folks. And they do not enjoy a lot of the protections that other fields of labor enjoy. So they are about as essential as you can get. And we set this song as a corrido because a corrido is a musical form for epic stories and heroes, and they're epic heroes to us.
Thank you. Let's do it. Let's hear it.
Se reconocen migrantes de la nación mexicana, del campo trabajadores. Ay, qué dura es la jornada. California y Arizona, Texas por mencionar. Aquí va mi rendición de mi querido Washington. Herederos de Murrieta, somos muy buenos vaqueros, y el vivir de la labor siempre ha sido nuestra meta. Cantan pájaros del monte temprano por la mañana, ya diviso el horizonte para juntar la manzana. Hijos somos del maíz, hemos piscado algodón, todo lo que sea raíz es también de nuestra acción. De Yakima es la nación y Washington el estado que me diera recepción, porque yo me la he ganado. De Michoacán yo he venido, cruzando valles y sierras, trabajo a brazo partido, también Yakima es mi tierra. En ciertos estados sobra nuestra fuerza de trabajo, y yo vengo de abajo, y el desierto vidas cobra. Trasero a mí me nombran, a donde mi labor falta, sea el maíz o falta, lo que haya que cosechar, la migra me ha de buscar, y otro temor que me asalta, la migra me ha de buscar, otro temor que me asalta.
This song and this project take on a different kind of resonance now, I think, than when this project began. I just want to acknowledge that there's a lot of emotional responses to this song, a lot of emotion in general to what is occurring right now. Tony, any thoughts about how important or any thoughts about the positionality of this project in our current moment?
Yeah. I mean, buckle up. I could be here for 2 hours to talk about that.
I should mention, I think Abel is now here.
Oh, excellent.
Great, Abel.
Well, let me actually pass over to Abel. I mean, for this project, as the former social studies teacher, I was like, okay, here are the topics, and then Abel is the lyricist, and so with this project, I said, okay, here's a bunch of research, and then Abel, turn this into something that's more, Abel is the one who turns it into something that's so beautiful. And I'll come back to this question of the relevance in this moment, but I want to ask Abel to share with us as a response to that, like, what it means to take that history and then turn it into verse.
Hello?
Yep, we hear you, Abel.
Let me see if I like.
We can
I
hear
see.
you. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's enough. Well, thank you, Tony, thank you all for your compliments and everything for the song. Well, actually, it's a song that it's always the theme is there, and it has been there in our minds for a long time. The migrant situation is kind of a second corrido I have made in terms of these topics, but I did not know in particular the particular history of the West in this country much about. Of course, I have known since long time that there's been immigrant labor from Mexico, especially in the fields, on the fields, since long time. But the particularities of their migrations and their through the states of the West Coast, like New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Oregon, and this state, Washington. So actually, Tony did a great job of showing me the information. And it was a long time ago where I started crafting the song. I was in Mexico. And then I read all the information, and not only was very interesting how the flow of immigration goes in this country, in particular the Mexican immigrants, but also was very inspiring to do a song with that topic in more or less how this song describes. Of course, there is other things that are essential for me, having read a little bit the story of Joaquin Murrieta. A great old friend of mine actually even took me to a spring water in California where he said that he used to bathe there and take his horses to drink water. So it was kind of putting in pieces together a lot of legend elements that I said I gotta put it in this song, you know. As a great cowboy, Joaquin Murrieta is part of our Mexican history and it's part of the Mexican history of the cowboys. So I mentioned that in one verse. And of course, there's other verses that mention that we are sons of the corns, you know, sons of the corn. And you know, if you go to Mexico and read a lot about the whole mythology and the whole ethno-history of the community that are indigenous, um, especially in the center of the country, there is a lot of stories and storytelling about corn. Beautiful stories about how the first kernels were transported by ants or animals. It's just very interesting to read all of that. But also, as well, in the same verse, I put that we are sons of that. We have grown corn forever. We are fighting non-GMO corn in our country. We are fighting actually genetically modified corn, trying to put it as a law that we just have that. We can't, but there's attempts for doing that. But also we have raised everything. And one of the things that we have raised is cotton, which is a symbolic for me in the American continent, a symbolic plantation that is of the colonization, you know, because people from Africa work in the cotton fields, people from Mexico. So I just try to mention things like that in the song. So yeah, I mean, the topic of immigration, you could think that is redundant, but it's not at all. It's just depending on what topic especially you talk and what is the temporal frame, because some issues are more difficult in some seasons than in others, so in some eras than in others. You know, we in this country started experiencing of the divided families, like pretty much people putting in shelters, but this was more like detention centers, you know, than instead of shelters in the border and such topics like that. So yeah, I mean, and I follow the tradition of the corrido. I follow the inspirations of singer-songwriters like Guillermo Velázquez, which is a great singer-songwriter that has been documenting migrations in a funny way, in a sad way, in other genres of music in Mexico. So, and many other, actually even non-known composers, you know. So thank you. Is there something else that you want to ask me or something? It's fine.
And we should mention too, like, please continue to put questions in the chat or whatever the question format is, or very open to conversation format. But yeah, so the corrido, if you grew up in the Southwest, you're probably familiar with the corrido, and it is music of, I mean, it is the epic poetry of northern Mexico and the southwest of the U.S., and it's a form that goes back many generations. Abel mentioned cowboys. The first documented corrido from the 1800s is the Corrido de Quianzas, which is basically reads like a primer on what happened on the cattle runs that would go from northern Mexico and Texas up to Kansas and Nebraska, when Mexican vaqueros taught Americans to not just be boys but cowboys to learn how to work cows. So yeah, and music, yeah. So, but the music also alludes to this migrant circuit. So this is something that a lot of families would move, especially in the past. Tejanos and folks from New Mexico and Arizona and Colorado and so forth it would follow crops, Texas, Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Utah, and as it was mentioned in the comments, these are Mexican American families as well as Mexican nationals who came as laborers, and the braceros came particularly during World War II as a way of addressing the labor shortage. Yeah,
A
and
question.
yeah, please.
Oh, I was going to ask a question for Abel. Musically, what does the Quinta Huapanguera bring to the song?
Well, actually, in this song, I didn't use that instrument. We used
Oh,
for the first song, Dia and Dia. I used it just
I'm
more
sorry.
for
That was for the
guitars.
first. That was for the first song, and I'm sorry.
No, but
We'll say
I mean,
we'll say that one.
besides that, for corrido, it's being used also the quinta, because the corrido belongs to, as Tony said, from the is very popular and very important part of the folk music in the northern states, but also as well in the central states more also. And in some of those states, they have whatever it is similar to a guitar or guitars, to do corridos. As I mentioned, for example, Guillermo Velázquez, he actually does more in the form as you hear in La Pizca del Oeste. More than that, sometimes, well, he does that kind of type of corrido, but also he does that other rhythms like the decima we put in the end of the corrido. In the decima, I used to put when he changed tempo and speed. They actually do that in some states in Mexico, but still the narration keeps being the epic thing that happened to someone or some period of time or history. So yeah, in La Pizca, I was very honored and very thankful to being joined by our friends Las Cantineras that in the vocals, and also other instruments like the winds, like played by the tuba and the trumpet, because all of that is part of the corrido. And it is and it is not, it can be a corrido, could be just with guitar, or even sometimes with the guitar. But always, I think a corrido is sing, because it has to say something that happened, So in other times, it was a corrido of Villa, Zapata, Felipe Ángeles, all these caudillos or people, heroes from the revolution or beyond that, So there is a corrido for Joaquín Murrieta, or more than one in particular too. So that's the main essence of the corrido, the narrative element of it,
Thank you. Thank you for helping me gracefully get to the correct instruments in the corrido.
Well,
So
you might be giving an idea. Next time, probably I will use the quinta.
Tony, anything you'd like to add about the collaboration on the second song?
Yeah, I'll just add real quickly. Well, and also I want to give a shout out to Vic because I think he's on the call with us today. He hosted this concert that was at Yakima Sportsman Park and gave a beautiful testimony in the chat earlier. Thank you, Vic. And yeah, I mean, really, this song is like, we can't talk about the economic and social health of the state of Washington without acknowledging farm workers. And um, and then inherent in that is the injustices that they face as laborers who work so very hard who reap so few of the benefits, so few of the fruits of their labor. I mean, people that are harvesting produce all day and don't get the fruits of their labor. It's crazy. So we wanted to acknowledge that, and as Abel mentioned, La Cantina, which includes sisters Sandra and Gemma Aguilar and Stephanie Shu. Sandra and Gemma grew up working the fields and trading their time between going to high school and working the fields and Yesenia Hunter from La Familia Hunter, who's also in the picture here, had a very similar experience. So it's really important that the song be rooted in the actual community of Central Washington, and we're visitors and guests to that community, but these folks are mero mero. They're the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that story arc of the 3 songs and what you were just talking about is a perfect transition to the final song and the theme of the final song. If we can go to the next slide. How would you like to introduce this third and final song of this project before we watch it and then dig in a little bit deeper when we come back?
Well, I mean, to go back to your question, Makaela, after listening to this, to La Pizca del Oeste, and like the implication of this project coming out now when it's coming out. I mean, we've been planning it for years, and we wanted it to be, a contribution to a more inclusive and accurate portrayal of Washington history. We had no idea that it would, in fact, be kind of a testament to asserting the value and the dignity and the contributions of a community that is being just attacked and misrepresented, stereotyped, and scapegoated. And as of yesterday, a community which no longer enjoys equal rights in this country. After the Supreme Court decision yesterday that basically, justifies state-sanctioned racial profiling. So this song in particular was, an assertion of, our beauty and our diversity within this group of, because Latino it's a big tent concept. And there's so much diversity. Just like in this call, people were talking about all their foods, which was, made me incredibly hungry as I skipped lunch today. But that is also a representation of the beauty and the multiplicity of this community of Latino Americans, and then particularly here in Washington State, you have this longtime resident Chicano and Mexican American communities, but Peruvians. Apparently, all the Costa Ricans in Washington are on this call, so thank you for being here. Afro-Peruvians, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, Argentine, Panamanians. So, there's so many aspects to who we are as a community in Washington, and so many ways that we contribute. And so, with this song, we wanted to say we are present, and we're here, and we count. We have inherent dignity, and the contributions we have made to this place and to this society and this economy only further confirm the value of our presence.
I think it's time to listen. Thank you.
Como Atahualpa dijera, afuera de su país, conecto con mi raíz. Y jarana en mano, yo con mi suerte, con mis paisanos hasta la muerte. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, porque yo vine, presente estoy. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, soy necesario, por eso estoy. Donde trabajé en la construcción, en la oficina y atrás de un camión. En la cocina sin profesión, lavo los platos, atizo el jabón. Reparo caminos, construyo los puentes, tomo los riesgos y ayudo a mi gente. Soy abogado de leyes consciente y soy acusado siendo inocente. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, porque yo vine, presente estoy. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, soy necesario, por eso estoy. Boricua, porteña, venezolana, corazón risueño, naciones hermanas. Hispano, latino, la prensa me llama, soy solo un chatino que vive en Calama. De todos los lados, de todas las fuentes, caminos andados, estamos presentes. Todos iguales, también diferentes, trabajadores, somos presentes. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, porque yo vine, presente estoy. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, soy necesario, por eso estoy.
Come rico de mi mano bajo el sol. Y mis hijos y mi gente empobrecidos sin razón. Ya no te hagas inocente de no ver lo que tú tienes, como eres con mi gente que sostiene tus placeres. Mis hijos, mi gente, tan presentes en tu mesa como el pan de cada día. Eres avaro conmigo, espléndido con tus amigos. De dónde vengo, de dónde soy. Me hago presente, necesario soy. Estoy y no me voy. Come rico de mi mano bajo el sol. Y mis hijos y mi gente empobrecidos sin razón. Ya no te hagas inocente de no ver lo que tú tienes, como eres con mi gente que sostiene tus placeres. Mis hijos, mi gente, tan presentes en tu mesa como el pan de cada día. Eres avaro conmigo, espléndido con tus amigos. De dónde vengo, de dónde soy. Me hago presente, necesario soy. Estoy y no me voy.
Sangre de aquí o allá en las venas, mi tierra sentí si la guitarra suena. La música y baile en barrio salón, la casa y la calle según la ocasión. Cumbia, guapango, lando y samba, bolero y tango, merengue y bomba. Joropo, jarocho, mambo, cha-cha-cha, volcán y guayno que quiere bailar. Que hay libertad de expresión, llora tus penas del corazón. Que hay libertad de expresión, baila tus penas, canta tu son. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, porque yo bien presente estoy. De dónde vengo, a dónde voy, soy necesario, por eso estoy. Dijarán en mano, yo con mi suerte, con mis paisanos hasta la muerte. Como Atahualpa dijera, afuera de su país, yo y mi guitarra afuera, yo viajo con mi raíz, yo viajo con mi raíz, yo viajo con mi raíz.
Leaving a little bit of silence to enjoy and process that. Tony, Abel, Gus, where do you want to take the conversation from here? There are so many things that we could dig into.
I mean, I'd love to just respond to any questions or comments that folks have. I mean, uh, you know, it means so much to us that you all have, given your attention to these songs. We ask you to help share them. They're all on YouTube. They're all on our, Guadalevin.com, which I think Makaela put the link. We can put it again. These songs are here to serve. They're here to remind community members, and especially young people from our community, that they matter, that they have history, that they are valid and necessary and welcome members of this society in the Northwest. And so that's the purpose of this music. There's no, obviously we're not the rock star types, so this is to be shared with people and to and if it can offer a little bit of hope or sustain folks, especially in moments where all of this history is being challenged, and I mean not even just written off, but actually rewritten. As we see, for example, funding move away from traditional public media into highly polemic private outsourced organizations that are telling really a reframing of history, especially as it relates to Latino, Indigenous, and Black communities in the United States and their contributions over the past 2.5 centuries. So this is to help put all of that in balance. So we ask you to help us share it.
I just have a few quick words to say. My colleagues Tony and Abel poured themselves into this song, creating the lyrics together, I believe, and bouncing the musical motives off of each other. I was honored to learn how to play cumbia on the Turkish oud. That gave me new energy as a musician. And um, and this song was a community project in so many ways. As we included the La Cantina people, the energy and the production of the song grew. And it didn't grow in an additive way. It grew in a multiplicative, if that's a word, way. The energy of the people involved, including what Makaela brings to these projects, gave us something that none of us could have imagined. So I'm just so grateful to have witnessed it and to have been a part of it.
One question, and then anybody else can just start asking questions or putting them in the chat. Our theme, Latino Leadership Network's theme for this next month is Hasta la Raíz. And raíces are in both of the songs that have lyrics. Abel or Tony, can you reflect a little bit about why? What is that connection?
Well, from one of the verses that I actually thanks to all, I feel very honored about playing with Tony and Gus, because also Gus, as he bring that interesting sound of the oud into a Latin rhythmic and music conformation that I love it. In one of the verses that I mentioned, Raíz, that I remember, was about Atahualpa Yupanqui, and I would say I try to be brief. The internet, among the good things that has brought to me, as particularly a person who has listened music of him and other great people that I admire through many, many years, is that eventually in the internet, in YouTube or channels or just music of them, I could see things that I never saw in the 70s or 80s or 90s. And one of them was that has been also a very valuable aspect of this, which is interviews that are done to the singer-songwriters and composers and things like that. And in that one particularly, I decided, well, it was good to put Atahualpa, because Atahualpa once was interviewed among the many interviews he had. And they asked him if, when he was in exile in Spain, that he was missing his country, after being in exile for a while. And he just said, well, probably, of course, he missed his country, but he just said, if my guitar is with me, I have my country and my roots with me. The country and the roots of Argentina travel with me, wherever my guitar is. The only thing he says, I just miss my horse. Because he had a horse, obviously, in Argentina, and he was like his best companion, one of his best companions. But that's where it's mentioned in one of the verses, Raíz. Yeah, and I don't remember now the other one, but yes, other verses, but also other, other many inspirations that Tony and me had. He also added verses to these two. So, yeah, it's the root, the raíz. How many things you can say, and it's great having that as a theme.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we have a question in the chat. We actually have a couple. Tony, it looks like you already got to the first one, which was the instrument that you're playing in this photo, a marimbol. Did you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we just musically, again, it's like, how does the instrumentation and the arrangement help tell the story of who Latinos in Washington are? And so that's, you know, there's like the intro of the song, the first couple verses, especially the one about Atahualpa, you know, has this very kind of Andean South American kind of feel to it, with the guitar and the bombo, the large bass drum, and the hooves, the chachas, um, the hoof rattles, and then it moves into a cumbia, which is such a like a universal rhythm for, like, I feel like cumbia is like the common tongue of Latin America and much of the world now too. Um, yeah, I was just at a place in LA that they had like psychedelic cumbia, and you know, so there's like Peruvian chicha and so forth. I mean, but the cumbia itself is such a beautiful representation of the essence of Latin American identity, because it's uh, African percussion with indigenous winds and rattles, and in its most folkloric form, and then Spanish language verses. So it has the three elements threaded together, and so it seemed like a really great form. And then there's, during the rap, we do son cubano, and you know, that's based on the son clave, which is basically West African, um, and comes to the Americas, you know, surviving um, in the the people themselves that are forced across the Atlantic. I mean, there were no instruments that were brought during the slave trade. Everything was recreated here, from what people carried within them. So yeah, and then it was so great to have the hip hop element as well, um, with Sandra's rap, and that was totally fortuitous. Um, she was just moved by hearing the song, because we had sent the song to La Cantina, like, hey, can you guys do some harmonies on the choruses? And then Sandra was like, oh, you know, it moved me, and I wrote this rap, and we're like, we've got to put it in. And then, Gus, do you want to field the question about the oud and why, you know, we include oud in Latin music?
Yes. I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. And how wonderful. I'd love to talk more about the oud with you. The, as Tony mentioned earlier, it's Arabic and Persian cultures that really had a tremendous influence in on the Iberian Peninsula long before there were thoughts of the conquest of our lands here. And in fact, you could argue that European culture was created by interactions with Arabic, Persian, and Far Eastern cultures. Everything about European culture is an import, essentially. We don't always want to admit that. But anyway, it's part of the story. The use of the oud is part of the story, and it has an amazing low range. In particular, my oud does, the way it's made. And so we thought, oh my gosh, it's an electric bass when it's on its lowest two strings, and then also it's a melody instrument when it's on its highest string. So so I might actually just take up the electric bass, you know, after this experience. So anyway, passing back to my colleagues.
So Jose, I'm looking at your question, like, how do we respond to new music or a new genre? I think each of us would have to answer that independently, but I think it is fair to say we're all music nerds and history nerd. I know I'm a big history nerd, so I'm always listening and figuring, like, okay, how does this connect to this other? And I think music. I love to approach music as a really big kind of 23andMe kind of. Or what do you call it, ancestry project, and stringing together these family trees. You know, there's examples of that all over Latin America. and in popular music. So, you're listening to hip hop, and what's hip hop? Hip hop is the result of African American, Jamaican, Puerto Rican kids in the Bronx not having, any resources, so they're using what's around them, right? And what are the blues or son jarocho from Veracruz? Those are all improvisational styles that are based on West African roots, Um, so yeah, I'll pass to Abel and Gus.
So, yeah, I mean, I think I really have listened music more of the traditional Latin American styles. And a lot of the times I've seen similarities in different countries that I never expected, and differences in the same country that I also surprised me that they were so different, from certain styles of music from the north portion of my country to the south portion of my country. So things like son jarocho relates very much to the music many times of Venezuelan music. And here's another element that is beautiful, and it has been very I feel that I'm still discovering that. I'm opening that gate, is that the Baroque music, all the influences that American continent has had of that, and development of that, because there were other forms that were developed here in that music, are part of this folk music, in son jarocho, in son huasteco. You can see a lot of the times chord progressions, rhythms that are very, very related to what is Baroque and early music, So that's another beautiful thing that a lot of the times I didn't pay attention very much and seemed to me quite different, but the difference were those instruments that were played with, but once that you see that, you see that there are forms that are kind of have been played since long time ago in the chords progressions or the rhythms, or it's very similar, at least, to things like that. So it's still it's a great thing to be part of being a Latin person for me, and not only being listening music of Mexico, but comparing styles of the whole traditional Latin music, Yeah. I don't know if that answers a little bit that.
Thank you.
And maybe just one final thought, since Abel said that the oldest music conservatory is it's called Las Rosas. It's in Morelia in Michoacan. And I visited there a long time ago. On the door above it says 1701. So it's a long time. That's before before there was any European music in the USA. And so it just makes me think of that we all have each of all of us in ourselves. There's probably a better way to say that. But we are individually a shared experience of our ancestors. And for me, that's a reflection on how we need to build our country and how we need to approach what's happening now. If we can illuminate that for ourselves and for those around us, I think that's the best we can do.
Thank you, Gus. Powerful words to close on. I want to thank each of you, Abel, Gus, Tony. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just looking at the time, we could talk about this for so much longer, and I would love to. And I know we've got a few other things to wrap up. So thank you all so much for sharing about El Noroeste and joining us today. I encourage you all to check out the website if you want to continue to listen to those songs and see those videos.
Thank you, everyone. What an honor to be here with y'all. Gracias. And thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. Gracias.
Gracias. And you have a lot of history and music nerds here too. So just a final check-in as we end this space, hoping that this was filled your cup. If you were in the cocoon stage, maybe you've reached the third one. So if you want to share which image best represents how you're feeling now in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit. I also added at the bottom, if you don't notice, the image of these multiple monarchs, because in the end, the monarchs all go back. They're headed to, you know, those beautiful pictures of all the monarchs when they're all together, and how it brings joy and fills our cup when we do things together in community. So I think I'm back to the caterpillar.
One thing I
So
learned too, sorry to interrupt, but
Go
one thing
ahead.
I learned about the monarch that, of course, we all know that they go all the way from Canada to Mexico in their migration. And of course, it's obvious now that I know this fact, but I just learned it this year, that it takes several generations for them to make that trip. So one is going to die before it reaches
Yes.
either point on that, which is so even more impressive to me somehow.
I just learned that recently too, because thinking, how's one monarch going to make it all the way from us? Wow. Yeah, they just keep going. Their body memory makes me think of our ancestors too, that we hold memory in our bodies from our ancestors. We like the same foods that they like. We eat the food that is native and indigenous to this country. They may have tried to erase our language, but we are our ancestors, and that continuation, like the monarch. So thank you for sharing that, Sedona.
Herminia, Masozi posts in the chat, oh, to me directly. Sorry, everyone. Let me share this link to everyone. Yes, I don't know if, I think it might have got lost in our, yes, please do the attendance while I'm working on this. The IC.
You froze, Sedona. I lost you. Thank you, Jose. So just a reminder.
Thank you.
Hispanic. Thank you, Abel.
Thank you.
Hispanic Heritage Month continues. Please make our October meeting is same link. It should have been a new link today, so hopefully people all made it and there weren't lost people out there using old links. And the Lunch and Learns, you just need to register once and it will register you to all of the Lunch and Learns. So those links are in the newsletter, they're on the website, they're on the flyer. So please reach out to LLN@ofm.wa.gov if you don't have the links, but just reach out to the website and to our newsletters and they should be there. Register once and then, but make sure you register and don't think that you're just going to click the link on the day of the Lunch and Learn, because you need to register and then you'll get your unique link. I was able to attend Latina Symposium last Friday in Granger. It was so wonderful. So if you are in the Renton or Spokane area, these aren't sponsored by us, but it was just very Latina-centered spaces and beautiful bilingual space. Also, more Hispanic Heritage Month events. Just go to one website and they've got so many, including the concert by Natalia Laforca, the one that we listened to at the very beginning of our opening. She is in concert in Seattle on September 25th, which I'm going to miss because I'm going to be on an airplane. So more events there. Again, go to our CHA website for resources.
One more thing, I don't know if it got
ahead.
booted off of our list. I'm so glad when I suddenly got booted off of this that it didn't cancel our whole meeting. Oh my goodness, that scared me. The ICSEW is having a Lunch and Learn this Thursday on resumes and cover letters. Herminia, I think that got lost in the shuffle of our list of activities.
Yes.
That is really a wonderful
That's why we
opportunity.
didn't want to do one this week, because they have one. So
yes, look at Masozi's message just a minute ago. She has the link to that September 11th Lunch and Learn by the ICSEW.
Thank you, Masozi, for sharing. So we didn't have one this Thursday so that we could be able to support the ICSEW's Lunch and Learn. So see that in the chat. The link is in there. Thank you so much for sharing. And, you know, we always need resources. So the Commission on Hispanic Affairs has wonderful resources around immigration. Go to our socials. We've been updating them. And support all of our BRGs. And we are going to end it with one more song, if you can still hold on for a little bit. This one is in the language of Zapotec. Is that right? Is this Abel? I'm not sure.
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. And I'm going to have to stop sharing and sharing again so that I can do audio. So let me stop sharing. And then share again. And see if this will play for us.
Oh, and we didn't share the link to all of our new backgrounds. We'll do that in the newsletter. Sorry, everyone. We can't hear you, Armenia, because of your, yeah.
Siguyanesayo, Shinayenda Yamapakizeu, Avedandalo Shivedani, Ibegu Wini di San Mateo, Nasewa Sigusaneyayo, Shinayenda Yamapakizeu, Avedandalo Shivedani, Ibegu Wini di San Mateo, Ayay, digo Shipekescani, Uñapa, Ñacamequiñano, Uñapa, Pescani, uña paña cameguiñado, uña paño mendani suki, manichara huela menashi. Shita paragutu, tiwabi guini tiguaniro, sendeka biguriani shado, sedaka mama nexunishu, shikakak shita paragutu. Ay, ay, bigushi pekeskar, punya paña kame guiñado, punya paño mendani suki, manishara buena menashi. Ay, ay, bigushi pekeskar, punya paña kame guiñado, punya paño mendani suki, manishara buena menashi.
Thank you, everyone. Kept you a few minutes over. Thank you so much, Abel and Tony and Gus. And this was beautiful and very timely, especially because of the state of our country and what happened yesterday. So, gracias.